Hi and welcome to this drafting film demonstration. I just want to sort of go through and just sort of show you how this surface differs compared to the other surfaces that I've demonstrated on. So there are some different types of drafting film. We have polydraw drafting film, and you've also got graphics drafting film, which is what this is, and there's another one, Duralar. There's another one. I've not used Duralar, but I am informed by quite a few people that it's not as easy to use as the others. So when I'm doing tutorials, I tend to use the Polydraw double matte drafting film, and for commissions I use graphics, and this is graphics. This one's a little bit thicker than what I would usually use, and what you would tend to do, because it's double matte, you can add colour to both sides, and because there's kind of like there's no sort of no tooth on this, so it doesn't take that many layers, so you really have to plan how you're going to add your colour, and you've got to press as lightly as you can. Now with this, I've got the line art underneath, so then we don't have to sort of do any sort of transfer of the line art. So this is the latest commission I'm working on. This is the third of 3 dogs, and I'm just started working on the eye and around. And so what I tend to do is I slide some paper underneath so that you can sort of get rid of the line art, just to sort of see where you are and if you need to add any other colours. And you can sort of see that I've kind of like blocked in some fur and a bit of the nose area already. So I completed the eye the other day. So what I've tended to do is I've completed some of this the other day. I've started to sort of work my way around. Now with drafting film, like I said, it only takes about 5 layers. Probably might be able to take more if you're light enough, but if you find that you need your colours darker on the front, you can flip the drafting film over and colour on the back just to make the front pop out, but you actually need to sort of add the colour in the same direction as you have on the front, so that it doesn't sort of look disjointed and that. So I'm gonna sort of continue with this today. So I'm just going to put that bit there so I don't get that one dirty. I mean, you can see dirt marks there, but that's from underneath, so it's not on there we go. Yeah, so oops. Yeah, so I want to still start round there. So just want to sort of this is like a demonstration of like how, you know, to add on to draw on drafting film to add colour. So let's have a look. I'm using greys at the moment and black. Let's get them out. So like everything else, when I'm adding colour to pictures, I choose all my colours beforehand, and then I just keep them in the box so that I don't have to keep rummaging through my pencil drawers, because I have got quite a few here. So what I'm going to do is take that bit out for the moment, and let me just zoom in for you. Oh. So I've just got to move that down. Right, let's just move that across and down. Sorry, this is quite a large piece that I'm working on at the moment. It's 3 A4 pieces of paper sort of side by side. Okay, right, so I've already added some base colour around there. Let's just bring that down a bit more. Okay, and I've zoomed in on my reference photo, and so with using drafting film, it's best to sort of have your pencils sharp, because it takes a lot, you know, it can take, yeah, so you just need them sharp to sort of like give the detail, get the fine details and stuff. Oop, so just going to see if I can sort of zoom in a bit more, bring that over. There we go. Right, so basically what you're doing is you're using the line art underneath as a guide, and this is so that you don't have to sort of transfer any line art actually on the surface. So I'm paying attention to the reference photo. I'm going very light over the surface. Another good thing with this surface as well is you can actually use Tombow eraser to sort of, for the what's the word I want to call it, subtraction technique, that's it. So you can sort of create texture with fur, and you can also on this surface use a slice tool as well to actually get a good texture with the fur. So yeah, I tend to sort of do all of my commissions, well so far I've done all my commissions on drafting film. Well, majority of them. I think I've done a couple on pastel matte, so it kind of like sort of depends on the drawing. This one, I was starting this one off small on pastel matte, but sort of found that it wasn't didn't think it was really working so much, so I changed over onto drafting film. And so with graphics drafting film, you get them in a roll and you just trim it down to size, and Polydraw comes in pads. Right, so I want to add darker. So what I'm actually doing is I'm planning, so I know this bit's quite light around here, but it's got some depth to it. So it's got, I'm going to use this Cold Grey 5 because in here it's dark in that area there. And I'm just going ever so gently over it. So just bring that in there. So what I tend to do is I add the colour. So I'm going very, very lightly with this, even lighter than I would do normally on a textured surface. And then what I would do is, once I've kind of like added the base layers and just blocked out where I want to add my darker colours, then I'll put this sheet of paper in between the line art and the drafting film, and I will then go in and add the rest of the shades on top. Just like that, and so then I'll come in with the Cold Grey 6, and so in here this is where I start adding some more of the layers in. Like that. this part around here is quite dark, so what I'll do as well is I will add in a bit of the black as well for this area. And I'm going ever so lightly with this. So in a lot of my tutorials I'll tell you to use light to medium pressure. With this one it's always light. And then I'll come back in with the cold grey 5 for this part. Like that. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of just building up around that eye. Usually I put both eyes in, but what I tend to do is, at the moment I'm sort of just wanting to build up that side of the face, and then I'll move to the ear, and then I'll work in and add part of the body in, and so I'm just sort of coming across. But I always start on this side. Okay. So now I'm going to come in with the cold grey 4. So in here, oh, and what I tend to usually do when pigment has been released from the surface, I use a makeup brush. Okay. Right, so like that. That needs to sort of come in a bit darker. So what I've done is, because I've already added the shape to the eye and some of those other features in there, then what I can do is I can sort of keep looking at the reference photo, and I can sort of keep building up around here. And I just want this part to be a bit darker, so I'm going to come in with cold grey 5. And I do have some tutorials in my art membership, Pencil Paws Academy, where we use drafting film. One of which is a really cute little black Labrador puppy. So I'm using the cold grey 5 on that part as well. So what I'll do at the end is I will flip this over and then add darker colours to the back and make the front sort of pop a bit more. So using the cold grey 2. We've got a lighter part there. Okay, and next the cold grey 3. And so I'm just going to sort of build up around here from all the other colours that I've already added. So what I'm going to do with this one, as it's the third dog in the commission, I will film the rest of this dog so that you can sort of see how it progresses from this point to the finished article. And then I'll film the bit where I flip the drafting film over and start adding the final sort of layers on top of that. Okay, so we've got a bit in there that's quite dark. So this is the cold grey 5. And I'm going to use the cold grey 3 to sort of just bring that bit down there. And the cold grey 6 just to sort of get in some of the dark areas, and just like when we're using our usual paper, like pastel matte, hot pressed paper, and so hot pressed paper, pastel matte, and the other surfaces with that's got a tooth in it. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, with the contrast, you still wanted to do contrast on this one as well. So that's why you have to sort of plan what you're doing, and let's have a look. Yeah, so you've still got to sort of make your darks dark and your lights light. So, and it's essential to sort of plan more on this surface because of the less amount of layers that you can add. Just going to come in with some black, I think. So what you're doing with this one, with the other paper when you're actually building layers, this one, and then you had the fine detail on top at the end, this one you're kind of like doing it both at the same time. Okay, just want some more black in the shadows there. Okay, right, so back to the cold grey 3. To about there. And then what I'll do at the same time is just make sure I'm going in the same area. So although there's all this line art here, I'm not necessarily going to use all of it. Okay, so that's okay. Just come back in there again. So I'm just keeping look back to my reference photo, and also to where I imagine the colour. Alright, so that needs to be cold grey 4 coming from there. And from there, let's just bring that out a bit. So under there is a darker area. There we go. So I've just got that bit in there. And cold grey 1. So if I can't sort of get this to sort of show the highlight, then what I'll do is I'll come in with the white. And it could also mean a bit later on I use the slice tool on this, because what it does, the slice tool takes off the top layer of the pencil, and then you can sort of see the detail better. It's a really good tool to have in your art kit. So cold grey 4 again. And cold grey 3. So you can sort of see that it's sort of gradually sort of building that up. So I just want the cold grey 1 just very lightly there. No, it's there. Let's go with cold grey 2. So it could be that I need the slice tool on that. So when you're using a slice tool on any surface, but especially this one, you have to sort of take it very carefully. So you don't want to be sort of gouging. You just want to scrape off the surface. You don't want to be gouging on this. And then brush away any sort of excess pigment. You're probably going to come in with a bit of the white. Like that. This is a Pablo white. And I would probably say it's one of my favourite whites to use is the Pablo. Just goes down on any surface really, really well. Okay, and I want the cold grey 6 in there. very sort of minute pencil marks on here, and of course that needs to be darker in there, so I'm going to use the black. And just in that corner there as well, and then the cold grey 6. Okay, right, so I just want to add a little bit of shadow in there. Just bring that down slightly. I'm just going to pull that out a bit more. And I'm going to use the cold grey 3. So that kind of like goes up to there, very lightly. And then let's just come across there. So I'm using the line art for guidance and then going in with the reference photo at the same time. Okay, so that's a bit darker around there, so I use the cold grey 4. And in there as well. Okay, and then actually if I go use the cold grey 5 just to sort of darken that bit slightly, because remember I want to make my darks dark and my lights light. Yeah, stick with that. And then cold grey 4. Let's just push this in again. So I've got that darker area in there, and then I also have got another piece of the fur coming out from there. And I'll go in there with the cold grey 5, because that make that a bit darker. And just keep brushing away any of the pigment that sort of lands on the drawing. Just come with some cold grey 6, I think. Okay, so cold grey 4. No, cold grey 3, I think. So I'm bringing that around there. And then what I want to do, the camera keeps moving, is pull out the paper. So the paper that I'm using here is Strathmore toned grey paper. I'm going to come through there, and then there's also a dark part through there as well. I'm just gonna draw in the eye, the edge of the eye, so that I can see where I'm going with that. Actually, what I may do, yeah, I'm going to sort of outline this eye. Just so that I can see where I'm going. And we've got, this eye is really, really dark in the shadows around here. So I'm just going to sort of block that in. Just so I know where I am with that. And it's dark under there as well. So that just sort of gives us a rough guide as to where and how far across we go. Okay. So we've got a lighter part coming across there, and then either side it's quite dark. This is the cold grey 6. So I'm just sort of going to come in under there. So I'm actually wanting to sort of plot the colours and then sort of just come through. So I just want this to be like a bit of the shadow from there, and then under there sort of quite dark. And then I use the cold grey 5. Just along there, and then cold grey 4, just sort of just to bring that out. Okay, so we've got that bit coming across there and there. So I'm just plotting these colours in for the moment. We have oh yeah, there's a bit sort of coming around there, and that's coming up through there. Okay, and I'm just moving this in and out just to sort of double check that I'm in the right place and it's looking okay. Right, so there's that, and then we've got actually, if I go cold grey 4 in there, right, that's down there. It's quite dark in there. I usually find like talking my way through it is actually sort of really good, kind of like thinking out loud. Okay, and on grey 4, just sort of coming over that way in front of the eye. And then we've got a lighter part, so cold grey 1. There, and there. And then in between there, I just put some cold grey 5 just around here. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what's happening with this camera lately. Right, okay. So I'm just adding yep, so that sort of comes out around about there. Okay, so then we've got cold grey 3 coming up through there. Okay, then I'm just sort of adding some more areas of pigment in there with the cold grey 3 and the cold grey 4. It's just going to come around in there. Right, so I'm going to put that in now. So it's got a darker area in there, and that sort of comes in towards this part. So we've got, so you can see it a lot clearer when the line art's not there. Like that. So then I add the cold grey 5. So it's darker in there. I'm just using very like sort of flicky kind of movement with the pencil. And then either side of that, so we've got coming along, so just bear with me, I'm just plotting this out. Okay, so I'm just lightly going in there. And then I'll come in with some cold grey, cold grey 6, I was right the first time. So those shadows have got to be really dark. I'm just bringing that down like that. And it's shifted over again. That's it, sorry about that. Yeah, so we've got that is coming out from the top of that. So I suppose at the moment it just looks like bits of blobs of colour, but it actually sort of, with more sort of like shades and contrast, you know, and tonal values that you add, the more it sort of just comes to life. Like that. I'm just go in with the cold grey 4. So I just need to sort of come around this darker area. And the cold grey 3. Oh, there it is. It's just going to come in around the top here. You can sort of just see how light the pressure is on here. And cold grey 4 around that. grey 3 again. Bit of cold grey 5, I think. Coming up there, and we've moved again. Not sure what the problem is with that, because it's been all right up until about a day or two ago. Right. Okay. So we're going to leave it there for this time around. So if I just put that up there properly, I'll just zoom out slightly. There. Okay, so that's how it's looking so far. So you can get a better sort of feel for how it's going to look once that sort of grey paper is going to be there, because once this is all finished, all of the line art's going to be taken out and it will just be all of the picture, you know, all of the colours on the top from the dog. So I will, next time round, I'll continue around through here, and then sort of see where it takes us. I may sort of come in around there, or I may go up a bit more, or I may even do that eye. It sort of depends on how I think this is going and basically where I want to take it next. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.